now.
Hi everybody! Welcome to the first live Charita's Easy Kitchen of the new year, 2018. I hope everyone's having a good new year. Tonight we are making a chicken gnocchi with a little bit of a twist. I'm adding some Italian sausage to mine because we're doing low carb, and so we're eating more protein and vegetables and less of the carbohydrates, although the potato gnocchi is going to add a little carbohydrate to us, but we're just doing low carb, not no carb. So we've saved up today so we can enjoy this lovely meal that we're going to have. And in case you haven't caught on yet to the theme for the month of January, we are making soups and stews this month. And my family will probably be sick of eating soups and stews by the end of the month, but it's so cold out right now, and this is such a good time to get into some good root veggies and some greens and have a lovely, fragrant meal that just warms you from the inside out. So that's what we're focusing on. So tonight, I've already got this started for you, so we won't take up a whole lot of your time tonight making this. But this is basically our starter mix. Most soups start with what they call a mirepoix, which is just a mixed vegetables that are started and stirred for flavor, to add flavor. So this was 3 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then a half a cup of diced onions, celery, and carrots, all in here. And then I also added a pound of mild Italian sausage, and I've just been cooking all that together. Once that gets cooked down and softened, and if you do the Italian sausage, let your sausage get cooked good, about 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes, that's how long this has been going. Then we're going to add in a 1/3 cup of flour, and we just want to kind of get that around in there, and this is going to make a roux, which is a soup base. It's going to make our soup thicken, and so we're going to mix that in, and we want to get that flour to coat all of the parts really, really well before we add any liquid. And if we were making a dark soup or a gravy, we might even want to brown it a little bit, but this is going to be kind of a light colored soup, so I don't care so much about browning. And now you can see it just looks like a flour-covered mash almost. And we're going to add in some liquid. The recipe calls for 4 cups of chicken broth. What I have here is some turkey broth left from Thanksgiving that I froze. You can also use vegetable broth if you don't want to add the chicken broth, or if you just use what you have on hand. But I had some turkey broth. It didn't quite thaw out overnight, but that's okay. It's going to melt in this pot. And so we want to keep stirring now because this is where we don't want to get lumps in our soup. So we want to continue to stir while that heats up. And then as it continues to cook down, it's going to thicken up some. And then I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of chicken bouillon rather than a lot of salt, because the bouillon is going to add the salt for me, and it's also going to add some chicken flavor, so to give the extra layer of flavor to the soup. So I'm going to add that in. And then we're going to add in 1½ cups of half and half. And if you don't have half and half, which I didn't tonight, I didn't realize we were out till I got home, but we do have heavy cream because the type of diet we're on, we're doing high fat, low carb, so we had heavy cream. So I did a cup of heavy cream and a ½ cup of 1% milk. So that's what I have here, but it'll equal basically half and half. Maybe a little on the heavy side, maybe 1/3 and 2/3. All right, we're going to let all of that cook together a little bit. And rather than add salt, I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper. And that's going to need to heat for a few minutes. We have anybody on? No? Well, I was hoping we'd have some folks tonight because I wanted to talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions and thoughts and ideas for the page, but since we don't have anyone on right now, it is 18 degrees here tonight. It's not supposed to get warmer till the weekend, and so I'm hoping that these soups will hold us through the weekend. We're probably just going to eat leftovers through the weekend now. And then while this is cooking, this needs to cook for about 10 minutes and heat really well. And while that's happening, you want to boil some water. And then I bought this. This is a Delalo mini potato gnocchi. You can make your own. Maybe someday I'll do a little pasta video on making gnocchi. But I went ahead and just bought this, and this is on the pasta aisle. It's a dried pasta. But it only takes about, because these are minis, they only take about 3 minutes to cook. So I'm going to hold off just a little bit longer on these. But you can cook them ahead and then just keep them in your strainer until you're ready for them. But I wanted to show you because they kind of float to the top as they're done. Kind of like tortellini float to the top as they get done. So I'll show you that here in just a minute. We're going to go ahead and add now our chicken. It calls for 2 cups of cooked diced chicken. This is probably not quite 2 cups because I added the Italian sausage. And you can use canned chicken breast if you prefer, or if that's easier for you. This was chicken that I sauteed in some olive oil. Y'all are going to be judgy probably, but I don't care. I saute chicken every couple of weeks. I buy a huge package of chicken breasts and saute them and then freeze them for my puppy. And she gets about a 1/4 cup of chicken with each meal with her regular dog food that she has. And so this was one of the chicken breasts that I had already sauteed in some olive oil. I do not salt or season it at all, but it's okay. It's going to be in here with this other lovely stuff, and it'll start absorbing those flavors. There's also, the recipe that I posted calls for 4 cloves of garlic. I crushed up 6 cloves of garlic and put them in here because we kind of like our garlic. So it's also kind of heavy on the garlic there. And then we're going to add, now it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It's getting warm. So we're going to add 3 cups of chopped spinach. Now you can certainly buy frozen spinach and add that. This was just fresh baby spinach that I had for some salads. And so I just chopped that up and I added that in, and we're going to let that I'm just going to leave it right on top for a few minutes and just let it kind of wilt in. And I'm going to go ahead and throw the gnocchi in. Our water's boiling really nicely. I did salt the water a little bit. And we're going to toss this gnocchi in and stir just a tad. Now again, it says this will only take about 3 minutes if your water's boiling. So this will not take long at all. And it will be ready to strain and add to our soup. Get rid of that. And this. And also, I went today to get some fresh basil at the store. I went to 2 different grocery stores, and nowhere could I find fresh basil. So this recipe calls for fresh basil, which it would have been lovely. But I found what I hope is going to be the next best thing. It is a lightly dried basil. And they had some cilantro, and they had a few other spices that were this lightly dried. And I'll let you see the texture here. It's
Hazel has joined us.
Hi, Hazel. How are you? Glad to see you. I hope you're staying warm where you are tonight. But this basil is lightly dried, so it's a little darker, and it feels soft. It's not crunchy or hard like dried spice. So we're going to add that basil in as well. I don't know if I'm going to use it all because I'm thinking it's going to be fairly strong, but we're going to throw that in there. We may add a little bit more as we go. All right. Oh, that's getting nice and thick. I don't know if you can see that. How that's getting nice and thick. Oh, this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful soup. Once we add that gnocchi in, it's going to be perfect. It's going to be nice and hearty for this cold weather. The videographer is having to let the puppy in, so that's why you're going away from me for a second. And I'm wearing gloves tonight because I cut my thumb and I didn't want to contaminate anything or get anything on my bandage while I was cooking. So that's why I'm doing gloves tonight. It's my own kitchen. I typically do not wear gloves in my own kitchen when I'm cooking food for my family, but just wanted you to know that. And so we've got everything in there. We're going to let the spinach wilt down now and let those flavors just kind of cook together. Our gnocchi is starting to, if you can see, the water's kind of cloudy, but you can see that it's starting to pop to the top, and that means it's ready. But we just have a couple at the top right this second, so in just another minute or so, it's going to be ready to pull off that burner and drain. We don't want to overcook it. We want them to be to have a little bit of a bite, but not be hard. I will tell you, even though it was on the dried pasta aisle, it was vacuum sealed, so they were already a little soft before I even put them in. So I knew they wouldn't take long, and obviously I was guessed right on that. Okay, I'm going to have a little taste here just to see if we need to add any salt, pepper. Give me just a second, and I'm going to get a spoon because I forgot to do that. Thank you, my invisible assistant. He doesn't talk much, but he's a big help. Okay. Oh wow, the basil's. I'm glad I didn't put all. We can add a little bit more on top if you would like some. Basil is not my favorite herb, so but it comes through. It's already coming through very well, so I think it's going to be nice and a nice balance with that. Oh, it's so good, and it does not need any more salt. We'll put salt on the table if we need to add. Okay, you can see he showed you our gnocchi is floating now. It's all to the top, so we're going to take that off the burner and strain it real quick. No, wait. Is going to go into this pot as well. And then we're just going to let all of that go another 5 minutes or so, just to let that gnocchi have a chance to absorb some of that basil and garlic and chicken flavor as well. Now, also, this recipe that I shared with you, it's not my recipe. I've told you before, most everything I make is not my own. I find recipes that look good, and I tweak them if I feel like I want to. Sometimes I just follow the recipe. But this recipe said it makes 6 servings. Now you look at this pot. This is a huge pot of soup, and we like to eat, but honestly, I think that's probably 8 or 10 servings easily. And we're not even going to eat anything with it other than I did get some Parmesan cheese crisps. Now, don't get me wrong, this would be fabulous with a big old loaf of crusty Italian or French bread. But because we're not doing bread, we're just going to do these little cheese crisps to have some crunch with our soup, because eating soup every night for a month will get kind of boring simply because of the soft textures. So we're adding a little bit of crunch to our meal with that, but some bread would be awfully tasty as well. Hazel, are you still on there? What's the temperature where you are? It's 18 degrees here tonight. And I was saying earlier, before you came on, that the theme, in case you haven't picked up on it yet, is soups and stews this month. I've decided I'm going to focus a lot on that since everyone's having a cold winter, even my Florida sister. They're getting snow down there, and some of us are used to that and some of us are not. And so I figured if we focused on some nice, warm, hearty soups and stews this month, everyone could benefit. Soups typically don't have a lot of calories, and there are things you can do to cut back on the calories. For instance, don't put in potatoes, don't put in the pasta, don't put in the rice if you want to cut down on calorie count. But typically a bowl of soup, even one like this, I believe the calorie count on this one was 360. but that's if you split this whole pot 6 ways. So, that's a huge bowl of soup for 360 calories. So, and that's with everything that it called for. I didn't leave anything out. But you can cut...
she says it's 18 degrees where she's at.
18 degrees where you are? Well, she's not too far from us. She's just one state over. She lives in Kentucky, I believe. And I think that's where we met her. Alright, so this soup is looking nice and thick and warm, so I believe we're going to get it ready to eat now. And we're going to sit down and enjoy our meal. Of course, I'm going to take a few pictures with my lovely picture-taking box. I still haven't found out what the name of this contraption is. I'm sure it has a name, but there's nothing on the package it came in. And so I don't know what to call it, except that it's made to take pictures of your food. And so that's what I've been doing with it, and I think it takes lovely pictures, and I'm having a really nice time the last week or so scouting out pretty dishes to put in my pictures. And
Dawn has joined us.
Hey, Dawn.
My cuz.
Yeah. That's
New York.
My hubby's New York cousin. Well, we got people from all over. Hi, how are you tonight? And we were just talking temperatures. I bet you can beat 18 degrees, which is where Hazel and I are at tonight. I bet Dawn can beat it because she's someplace in like Buffalo, I think. And they're just typically colder than we are no matter what we do. All right. Well, Dawn, I hate that you were just getting here. But we are getting ready to cut off because it's almost our time, almost 7 o'clock, and we haven't had dinner yet. So we're going to get busy and eat our dinner and relax for a little bit before we have to get up and do it all again tomorrow and start for work. But for Dawn and Hazel and anyone else who looks and watches this video afterwards, what I wanted to talk about tonight, we obviously didn't get a chance to do, but post in the comments for me after the fact if you're watching this video later. And let me know what it is that makes you you. In other words, how do you do you? Because this is something that I like doing. This is something that people identify me with cooking. I've always cooked for my friends and coworkers and my family. And so I am trying to find a way to be me and share that with other people. And I want to know what you do that you share with others, something that makes you you. So feel free to comment, share a GIF or however you say that, I don't know. And we're going to enjoy our soup. Good night.